Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas Tutora. Welcome to Tutora Time. Joe Biden gave a speech to Congress last night in which he painted such a dark and dismal picture of America and then told us about all the ways he's going to spend the country into the ground. He proposed programs with a total of $6 trillion in spending, a number that will certainly bankrupt the country and cause hyperinflation. All pie in the sky wish lists.
There is simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of Beijing. Let's raise the minimum wage to $15. Universal public schools and college aid. Nearly 90% of the infrastructure jobs created in the American Jobs Plan do not require a college degree.
The sparsely populated chamber was certainly a metaphor for Joe Biden's presidency. Joe Biden is so naive. He talked about how he's not raising taxes on anybody making over $400,000, but then he talked about how corporate tax rates are going to be raised.
A recent study shows that 55 of the nation's biggest corporations paid zero federal tax last year. Those 55 corporations made in excess of $40 billion in profit.
You said 40 billion, Joe? So somehow the tax paid on $40 billion is going to pay for $6 trillion of new programs?
We're going to reform corporate taxes so they pay their fair share and help pay for the public investments their businesses will benefit from as well.
I don't think Joe understands that once you raise the corporate tax rate, they're just going to raise the prices and pass it along to the consumer. So the fact is the working people and the poor are going to be the ones who would pay for his liberal wish list.
Less than 6% of the president's plan goes to roads and bridges. It's a liberal wish list of big government waste.
Of course, Joe Biden referred to the country as systemically racist and our dark history.
White supremacy is terrorism. To root out systemic racism in our criminal justice system.
You know, I think we're all getting bored with that pretty fast. Tim Scott, the Republican from South Carolina, gave the Republican response to Joe Biden. And in it, he said that America is not a racist country, which it is indeed not.
Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. But powerful forces want to pull us apart. 100 years ago, kids in classrooms were taught the color of their skin was their most important characteristic. And if they looked a certain way, they were inferior. Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor.
You know, when the Democrats present an idea, they need some evidence to actually back them up. I find it amusing that the people who are screaming systemic racism are working in Congress. And Congress is filled with all ethnic groups of representation. They're not all white Congress people. There are countless black people in Congress and other ethnic groups. So their whole narrative of that the system is so racist that nobody can get ahead is debunked by the fact that there's a huge number of black representatives in Congress. So the system makes it impossible for black people to get ahead, but yet there are many black people in Congress. Also, the Vice President of the United States and the 44th President of the United States. Their narrative really holds no water.
Please answer the question. Does the defense's case hold water?
No. The defense is wrong.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
And as they keep preaching this systemic racist narrative, the things they point to as examples of racism, we could see that they are not racism at all. If somebody's resisting arrest, no matter what color they are, there's a good chance they're going to get shot by the police. That's not systemically racist. That's systemically stupid to resist arrest from the police. If you resist arrest, you're taking your life into your own hands. A police officer's job is not to wrestle with 20 to 30 suspects a day in a fight to the death. The police officer is subdue the criminal by whatever force is needed and protect the citizens at large. The Democrats are really going to run out of steam for their systemic racism narrative soon because they're preaching hate, and hate only goes so far. People don't want to hear all hateful things about themselves and their neighbors, especially when they're not true. It's like being with somebody who's insulting you all the time and putting you down. There's only so much you're going to stand. Plus, their narrative is completely false. Anyone can achieve anything in America, and the evidence is overwhelming. Whoever tells you that you're a victim of race and the past is lying, and they're practicing a form of mental abuse. Nobody in America is a permanent victim, and Tim Scott told them that last night. Of course, the left immediately started making fun of him, calling him Uncle Tim as a derogatory reference to Uncle Tom.
I've also experienced a different kind of intolerance. I get called Uncle Tom and the N-word by progressives, by liberals. Just last week, a national newspaper suggested my family's poverty was actually privilege.
So basically, according to the left, if you don't toe their party line, if you don't agree with their propaganda, you're either an Uncle Tom or some kind of racist, and they know it, but you don't. The left is so juvenile. They think the goal of life is that we all want to be like them. We don't. At one point during his speech last night, Joe Biden talked about other governments say that autocracy is the wave of the future, not democracy, because consensus is too hard to reach. And he promoted democracy while at the same time trying to pass measures in Congress that lead to one-party rule, stacking the Supreme Court, adding D.C. as a state, adding Puerto Rico as a state, doing away with the Electoral College. All these things are being put in place to establish one-party Democrat rule. So I found it quite comical when Joe Biden was saying how democracy, with its cooperation and reaching consensus, is the wave of the future. Too bad Joe Biden is not practicing it. America is not a systemically racist country. To me, all the racism is on the left. It's the ones who are calling everybody racist and the ones who are calling everything they don't like racist. Those are the ones who are peddling race.
From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all.
And race hustlers like Al Sharpton and Tariq Nasheed, all the race hustlers out there, do you notice that as their voice becomes more prominent in society, the more the race division grows? Of course it does, because they themselves are old-fashioned racists who are filled with hate. And the more they spew their hate on society, the more society gets infected by it. Good people of all races are fed up with this, and it's time we take back America. We are one people, we are one America, and this is a land of opportunity for anybody. Anyone can achieve anything in America, and the evidence is overwhelming. I'm Nicholas Tutora, and I'll talk to you again soon on Tutora Time.